There are discoveries that whisper, faint and distant, barely disturbing the silence of space. And then there are discoveries that tear through that silence like a blade, forcing the universe to reveal something it never meant for us to see. When the sun finally slipped out of alignment and the James Webb Space Telescope turned its golden mirrors toward the darkness, astronomers expected 3I-ATLAS to reappear like a fading ember from months before. Instead, what Webb saw ignited a wave of fear so quiet, so controlled, so scientifically restrained that the terror didn't come from what was said, but from what wasn't. 3I-ATLAS didn't just return. It came back burning brighter than anything in the records, blazing with more than 4 times its previous luminosity, glowing not like a comet but like a machine waking up after a long sleep. Beneath the surface, Webb detected hexagonal patterns, perfect, metallic, engineered, shimmering under the reflected light. And then the pulses began, a timed ultraviolet flash every 247 seconds, repeating with precision no cosmic object has ever shown. No randomness, no drift, only intention. So the real question isn't why 3I-ATLAS returned, but what it's trying to show us, and why the James Webb Telescope seems to have caught it in the middle of something we were never meant to witness. In the long, anxious months while 3I-ATLAS hid behind the sun, astronomers told themselves it would reappear as comets always do, dim, dusty, unchanged. But when Webb locked onto it again, the brightness spike shattered every model. Natural comets flare, yes, but only in bursts. They erupt chaotically, inconsistently, violently. 3I-ATLAS did none of that. Instead, it glowed in a controlled surge, a steady 400% increase that rose and fell like a dimmer switch being adjusted by an invisible hand. Woven into that glow was something stranger still. A thermal reading too stable to be natural, holding its temperature like a system actively managing its own heat. It reflected light as though part of its surface had been polished or reconfigured while hidden behind the sun. And the longer Webb watched, the more the brightening behaved not like melting ice but like a mechanism responding to sunlight with purpose. What returned from behind the sun wasn't the same object that disappeared months earlier. It was sharper, stronger, more deliberate, and it was just getting started. Webb's enhanced imaging peeled back the first layer of brightness to reveal something that should never exist on a drifting chunk of cosmic debris: geometry. Not random fractures or chaotic cracks, but aligned hexagons. Precise metallic gridwork repeating across the surface like a lattice meant to channel light, heat, or energy. Every rotation revealed more of the pattern, shimmering through the reflective shell that now appeared less like ice and more like protective casing. As the surface shifted in smooth transitions, sections of the structure angled themselves toward and away from the sun with a grace that looked engineered, not accidental. Telescopes across the world tried to explain it through dust, ice, or geological structure, but the movement was too coordinated, too smooth, too clean. Natural objects fracture, they break, they tumble. They do not pivot with mathematical precision. 3I-ATLAS did, and it did so as if the sun itself were activating something buried beneath its skin. When comets approach the sun, they grow tails, long streams of dust and gas pushed away by sunlight, always pointing opposite the glare. But 3I-ATLAS rejected that rule the moment it re-emerged. Instead of trailing behind it, its material streamed directly toward the sun, forming a narrow antitail unlike anything observed. This wasn't a perspective trick. Hubble confirmed it, KEK confirmed it, European observatories confirmed it. Every telescope saw the same impossible plume holding a stable, unwavering line into the sunlight. Dust doesn't behave this way. Ice doesn't behave this way, nothing natural does. The antitail tightened with each rotation as if anchored to an internal force pushing material forward. Observers compared it to thrusters, not jets of melting ice but directional bursts like a spacecraft adjusting trajectory. Models failed, physics broke, and a quiet realization swept through the scientific world. Something was guiding the plume, something with intent, something no comet has ever shown before. When spectral data arrived, it carried the cleanest, most unsettling chemical profile astronomers had ever seen in an interstellar object. Instead of chaotic blends of rock and ice, 3IATLAS reflected a purity of nickel and iron so refined it resembled alloy metal more than natural formation. Cyanide compounds appeared too, but not as drifting contaminants. They were embedded in the reflective patterns of the object itself, locked into its surface like components of a designed material. Then came the hollow reading. The light curve pulsed in a rhythm too smooth for a solid object, suggesting internal chambers, cavities, or layered architecture beneath the shell. Mass calculations confirmed it. 3IATLAS was far too light for its size, almost empty inside. A natural comet is dense, heavy, unpredictable. This was none of that. It behaved like a shell, a casing, a vessel. Piece by piece, the chemistry whispered the same conclusion the imagery suggested. This was something constructed, something built, something that didn't originate from geology but from engineering. The anomaly grew deeper when a small observatory in Spain captured 159 consecutive frames of the object. In them, a narrow jet streamed from a single point on its surface, holding perfect direction across every frame like a needle of light aimed with unwavering precision. This wasn't a dust plume. Dust plumes wobble, scatter, and fade. This jet didn't. It held steady through rotation. Its shape never changed. Its intensity never drifted. And every time it fired, 3IATLAS shifted slightly, smoothly, purposefully, exactly like a spacecraft performing microadjustments to maintain or alter its course. For astronomers who believed the antitail was the first sign of control, this jet was confirmation. Natural objects do not fire stable directional beams, they do not adjust trajectories with precision, but machines do. Guidance systems do, probes do. Suddenly the idea that 3IATLAS was drifting became impossible to defend. It wasn't drifting, it was steering. Then came the silence. The moment 3IATLAS slipped behind the sun, every telescope on Earth and in orbit lost it completely. Not just in visible light but across nearly every wavelength. Even instruments designed to cut through solar glare returned nothing but static. Weeks passed, then more. Blind scans found only emptiness, an unnatural, perfect blackout in a universe that rarely hides anything completely. This was the one place in the solar system where any transformation could occur without witness, any structural shift, any emission, any maneuver. And then without warning, 3IATLAS returned, brighter, sharper, different. The jets looked stronger, the structure more defined. The rhythm of its glow no longer matched the pattern from before the blackout. Whatever happened behind the sun had altered the object in ways no one could explain, as though the sun's shield had offered it the privacy it needed to change or to prepare. Then came the ultraviolet pulses, a flash every 247 seconds, precise enough to rival atomic clocks. Natural objects do not keep perfect time. Nature is messy, nature drifts. 3IATLAS never drifted, and when scientists mapped the pattern, the truth hit like a shockwave. The pulses formed the sequence of prime numbers, not random noise, not chaotic bursts, but mathematics, universal language. As the signal continued, the final pulse stretched into a 13-minute ultraviolet stream that, once analyzed, formed a golden ratio spiral encoded in binary markers. A pattern nearly identical to the templates SETI uses to teach students what an extraterrestrial message might look like. If this was coincidence, it was the most improbable one in the history of astronomy. If it wasn't, then for the first time in human history, a message didn't come from a distant star system. It came from an object passing silently through our own. After the final pulse faded, astronomers expected 3IATLAS to continue on its predicted trajectory. Instead, it shifted direction just 0.09 degrees, subtle but unmistakable, and began accelerating. Not slowly, not due to radiation pressure, but in a clean, controlled curve that broke every model. Natural objects do not accelerate intentionally, they do not steer, they do not send mathematical signals and then leave on a path that looks planned. But this one did.